All right. Morning, everybody. What do we start with? Do we give away stuff? Usually like giveaways is usually how we start. Oh yeah, I've been collecting gift cards for years. Is this on? Sound like? Okay, great. All right, well, good morning. So I think we start with bucket fills. Is that good? And being that this week is Thanksgiving, I think we can do bucket fills. And if you just want to share some gratitude that you've got for the guy sitting next to you wearing a Santa Claus hat, let's do bucket fills and any gratitude you want to share.
I just want to say that I'm grateful for everyone here. It always makes me happy to walk into the office and see everybody and get hugs. And you know you're supposed to have 7 hugs a day.
Or you get weird.
Or you get weird.
Yeah.
So we need to work on that.
Some of us have been missing those hugs for years and years. We may not be able to unweird ourselves. Okay? Go ahead.
I'm grateful for all the trainings, especially for Rick and Marita putting in so much time and effort to help. And I don't know, there's so many other people I could thank, but they put in a lot of time and effort, and I really appreciate it.
So Rick and Marita are
Rick and
rocking
Marita,
it, right?
They're rocking it all the
All
time.
right, sticking with the brand. We'll go Marita, then Mike.
I don't see her here. Morgan has been doing open houses for us like almost every week. We so appreciate the support and the help and getting our listings exposed. So thanks, Morgan.
Great. All right. Mike Walters in the back.
Nate, he is not here. He's probably grabbing one last pie. But he did such the heavy lifting for us doing Pi Day in terms of coordinating labels and social media graphics, and it just made it so easy. So thank you, Nate.
When was Pi Day?
It's tonight.
It's today?
Yeah, it's today.
We're in the middle of Pi Day right now. This is great. Okay. Super. Going once, going twice. Any other gratitude? Buckets, fills?
I also want to piggyback the Pi Day because it was so awesome. Because we had like multiple agents that wanted to be involved with that, so we're able to cover multiple locations along the Wasatch Front, so all of our clients can go where it's convenient for them. So that's really cool.
Great.
Thanks, guys.
Well, that reminds me of a gratitude I have related to Pi Day. I'm so grateful we're in this location because for the last 8 years, that Pi Day would rile up our old landlord so much. He would start berating me at about 9 o'clock in the morning and act like it was the worst thing in the whole world. But God, I'm glad Jeff's not my landlord anymore. So thanks be to Jesus. Okay. Maybe more hugs. Give him a shot. Okay. All right. Thank you guys for that. Welcome new agents, guests, and visitors. Anyone that would like to identify themselves as one of those? Okay, Bobby. Bobby.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bobby. I joined last week. Previous to this, I was, at a small boutique brokerage, and it's super refreshing to be here. The energy and like little gems of wisdom people have shared with me, and just like everybody's so welcoming. It's been great. I'm really happy to be here. Nice to meet everybody.
Yes, welcome, Bobby. Seems like you've been a familiar face. You've been as a guest to a few things and now official, so glad to have you here. Great. Anyone else new? All right, next is the cultural icon. Are we set up for this? Ooh, all right, so let's go through the Y4C2Ts. Anyone want to do the dance? Any of our pregnant agents want to come up here and do the pregnant Y4C2T dance? Great to see you, Hannah. Anyway, guys, the more we get into new things and what the new thing is, the more I just love going back to this. The core of our company is Y4C2Ts. So we'll go through it and just remember this works in your family, it works in dealing with your clients and also with other agents. And we just really, this is our belief system. We want to approach everything with a win-win or no deal. You don't have to get the biggest piece of pumpkin pie at the table on Thursday. Integrity, always do the right thing. Customers always come first. That's a hard one, isn't it? Sometimes customers maybe are wrong or they don't know as well as you do. One of my favorite things is people reach out to me and ask for my expertise on something I've been doing for 20 years and then argue with all the information I give them. Am I the only one that has that? So we still have to come from that position of the customer always comes first, and the commitment in all things. Communication, this goes back to those customers that may want to debate with you about things that maybe you're more qualified for them. Really seek first to understand, and it's about asking more questions. Our first reaction is to get into that tennis match and engage, going back and forth with a debate. We know we can't win that. Ask more questions, seeking to understand. Creativity, ideas before results. I guess if you're all in real estate, you're plenty creative. And sometimes I think that's a part that maybe we lost a little bit in the industry over the last couple of years, where it was such a race to get a deal done. And now that the market has slowed and there's a little bit more time to use that creativity of thinking about what could really make this deal work. Maybe there's something in the terms that we could propose to the listing agent, something that the buyers hadn't thought about, to be a little more creative to help your clients get what they want, which is either a home bought or a home sold. Teamwork, together, everybody achieves more. Bobby, thanks for bringing that up. That was always a big one when we started the culture of this company, is that if we're helping each other, there's plenty of commissions out there. So if we all lift each other up, it is really terrific. And I've seen that with Makai and I just had a meeting this morning. It's been really great to see the staff work as a team, pull together and fill in when we have given Linda a week off. She's not here to enjoy that. Sorry, you guys can share it with her. Trust starts with honesty. Equity, opportunities for all, that's another just great. The opportunities in real estate really is not discriminatory. There's not a glass ceiling. We all know it's true that women run the residential real estate world, so thank you on behalf of dudes for letting us have a little bit of that. But one thing I just love about real estate is there are a ton of opportunities. Production is the qualification for opportunities, and success results through people. So is this in someone's behalf to present? Telly will be presenting. We used to call this the fertility god, but I think we're beyond that.
So I wanted to present this to Jeff Morris because he's such a team player. Jeff? Okay. So he's
Must
usually
be
a team
present to
player.
win. Go to the next.
So, Jeff was really helpful over the summer and into the fall with the script practice and things like that, helping us that need to learn how to do that stuff better. And I just want to recognize him and appreciate what he's done. And now it's come over to the Marita and Rick, but that's what I want to do. So,
Great. Yeah. Terrific. We will get that delivered to Jeff's office, and I certainly very fitting. Jeff is cool thing about the way he contributes is just showing up and doing the deal, which is awesome. So thank you. That looks exactly like Broker Dave.
I've been alone. Following boy is always a good time. Having him sitting over here watching this is always a good time too. We'll get into that. Paperwork day. First, I know. Dave's weekly pet peeves and paperwork. We're just going to go over a few here, but I also want to blend it in with, did you hear there was a lawsuit and a settlement? Volume 69. Okay. First thing I want to talk about is a referral agreement. Broker-broker referral agreement. You guys are sending out referrals across state lines and all this kind of thing. when you're filling out one of these things, folks, please set it up in DocuSign after your signature, because I'm not signing any of these until you've signed it. And I've had agents send me referral agreements from other companies saying that you agreed to pay a 50% referral fee, and then I talk to you and you're going, no. But it came to me in DocuSign. It really is kind of a pain to not accept the DocuSign signature and then have a conversation with you. So I only look at DocuSigns coming from our agents, make sure they're filled out, you signed. We don't even have to talk. Last week, we had some updates to forms. Updates to updates to updates to updates. Going back, we were actually letting old broker Dave have a walk down memory lane this morning on how real estate used to be and what the basics of real estate are and its communication and all this kind of thing. And having conversations with buyers and sellers and finding needs and then doing what we do best and having conversations with other real estate agents and all that. Then technology comes into the world, and technology was supposed to be making things easier for us, make things more time-saving, but a lot of us are getting lost in the technology and taking away from having the communications that we're supposed to be having. Going back to when Lee and I were little kids, and in real estate, was it the 90s that buyer agency came into? 92. See, my memory's slipping, so obviously I'm older than, but 92 they came in with this thing that says buyer agency is buyers want their own representation. They didn't realize that sellers were paying the agent that they assumed was going to be their buyer and buyer's agent, and so something must be up, and so we want our own thing. And that was the whole buyer agency conversation. But then buyers didn't want to pay for that representation that they wanted to fight for. So then we came up with the cooperative offering on the MLS, where the sellers would negotiate a fee, and then we were allowed to share it with a buyer's agent, okay? Well, then the lawsuit happened, and suddenly sellers didn't know that they were paying the buyer's fee, and so now we're separating it out, and in the interest of transparency, we're trying to have these forms. But the forms don't cover the entire conversation. For example, when these forms first came out, and we separated the listing agent portion from a buyer's agent portion if the seller wanted to offer one, sounded great, except for what about those situations where we also represent the buyer? Or if it's an unrepresented buyer, then what happens? Because we're doing twice the work and we shouldn't have to negotiate this fee. So the Forms Committee, in their infinite wisdom, came out with the current modification of the newer forms from 2 weeks ago to separate it out to where you can offer alternatives. I'm being paid X% for my listing services. And in the event there's an unrepresented buyer, you, Mr. Seller, acknowledge that I'm going to have additional things that I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to communicate with the buyer's lender. I'm going to have to possibly go and check this and talk to them about that additional work that was not in my menu of services for a listing agent, and you are agreeing to pay me in addition to my listing. Okay? That's what this form changed. It also has a place that allows sellers to acknowledge limited agency. The limited agency portion right now creates more confusion because they didn't say limited agency you can charge more for. As a listing agent, it is assumed that everything that you are doing is on behalf of your seller. Okay? When you do an open house, you're not there fishing for buyers, you are there to represent the property on behalf of your seller. If the buyer walking in says, hey, I don't have an agent, this house doesn't work for me, you are then allowed to enter into an agency conversation with that buyer, but at the open house, you are there as a representative of the seller. What happens if you have a buyer agency agreement signed by the buyer and you take a new killer listing and he comes by? Well, the way it is sitting right now without a further conversation, is that your income is limited to the listing site. You have a buyer agency agreement signed by the buyer where he's agreeing to pay you on the buyer's side. But if the buyer is going to ask the seller to share in the buyer agency fees, there's nothing covering that. And so it's going to have another issue. There's going to be another rewrite coming soon, I'm sure. Okay? You want to pause briefly and have a conversation about that one? Yeah. The Masons have a question.
Well, it was really specific to our situation, but those of us on teams and that, does it make sense? I don't know. He just dropped this on me. Well, my first thought was, and make sure that one of us is in our team designated more as the buyer agent and one maybe more as the listing agent. So if there is that potential situation, I mean, this is all unfounded territory, right?
Yeah,
So I could be
a lot
wrong.
of it is, you guys even get more complicated, and I'm not going to overcomplicate it, but because you're married, you're one anyway. Yeah. And so there's a lot of things that are one-offs. So how do we handle that right now with these? There's also an addendum to our agreements.
So Dave, that is an updated listing agreement that you were just talking about?
Sell listing agreement and agency disclosure.
Okay, all right.
New as of Thursday, is that right? Yeah. Really, the only changes in here that they made is, again, breaking down like they did before, your ability to designate a listing side and a buyer's side, and also a directive on whether or not the seller is authorizing you to offer a BAC to another agent. Buyer agency compensation or buyer broker commission, either one. See, here's the deal, guys. If you guys are going out and listing a house and you're having the conversation as you're supposed to be doing, and you're explaining agency like the Masons always do, so I know that, they've got this handled, okay? Prior to, we would basically negotiate a listing commission, John on the other side. Anyway, when we go out and negotiate our commission and our fee, we then got permission from the seller to share that fee with the buyer agent, right? We're doing that separately now. We're negotiating our fee, and we're explaining, if we're a good listing agent, the benefits of a good buyer's agent, why we want them in the transaction, why we'd like to incentivize bring them in. We are basically pitching a good buyer's agent, and we are possibly establishing a fee that the seller may be willing to compensate that agent for, right? Or with, okay? Seller still has the opportunity to say, yeah, but don't tell anybody. We want to negotiate it within the confines of the offer, okay? So even though you've explained to the seller that, and this is not setting fees or anything, in the standard fee, 6% is what I normally have charged, okay? And I plan to share that 50-50 with a buyer's agent. Mr. Seller, it's not going to go any further than that, but I'm going to put a 3 up here, 3 down here to the buyer's agent. And I would like your authorization to allow me to share that 3% offering with a buyer's agent. Here's the pros and the cons of doing that. Bless you. Here's the pros and cons of doing that, okay? If they say, no, I don't want you to share that information, then when a buyer's agent hopefully calls you up and says, hi, I'm calling about your listing over here, are you willing to cooperate? What's your answer? Excuse me? Okay, there's nothing in this form that says allows you to say yes. And that's the conversation that some attorneys are having.
Here goes his license.
Right now, they're basically saying, the attorneys are basically saying your answer should be, the sellers want to see the offer. Not yes, because now you're inferring that the seller is willing to negotiate, which technically is a breach of fiduciary duty without them having that directive. And this now has permission for you to speak or a directive not to. clear as mud.
We're leaving it up to negotiation, is that?
Yeah.
Leaving it up to negotiation?
There are two places, if you are a buyer's agent, there are two places for you to be, for you to get paid. One is a broker-to-broker offering. It used to be on the MLS, when, again, previous conversation, Mr. Seller, 6%, you're agreeing to allow me to put it across the MLS and share it 50-50, or whatever that conversation looks like. If the seller has allowed you to do that, you can put on the real estate brokerage compensation agreement that you as the listing agent are guaranteeing to the buyer's agent that they will be paid X%, whatever you have the agreement to do. If you have this agreement, you don't need to put it in the purchase contract. In the purchase contract, it becomes negotiable, okay? As is the inclusion of the refrigerator or a home warranty. Your commission as a buyer's agent without this compensation agreement and only in the purchase contract, your fee is now negotiated between the buyer and seller, okay? Your buyer agent fee should guarantee, but as we pretty much know, buyers are not really willing to come up with the money. And so if your buyer is expecting you to be paid from the seller, you either have it done on the real estate brokerage agreement, which is broker to broker. They've already worked out the details with the seller. They're willing to sign that you will be paid. Or it needs to come into the real estate purchase contract where it becomes a term to be negotiated. That make sense? I used to say either, neither, or both. Either the compensation agreement or the purchase contract, but it can be both. If you have a buyer agent agreement, for example, that is 3%, and the seller is only, or the listing broker is only willing to sign the compensation agreement for 2%, you can ask in the purchase contract for the additional 1%, knowing that once again, that additional 1% can be negotiated.
You can ask the seller for the
Ask the
1%,
seller.
but you can't modify, if you already have a buyer agency agreement, the Rep C doesn't modify that.
You can modify the buyer agency agreement down, but not up.
Whose idea was that?
Right. Well, you can't go with more. Okay, you enter into a buyer agency agreement, explain your worth, your value proposition as a buyer's agent. You agree that your negotiated fee is 2.5%. Seller's offering 3%. You're still only getting 2.5%. Yeah, you can't change it up. You can only change it down. And guys, here's the. Here's the nasty part of this world. Well, yeah, anyway. This real estate compensation agreement, folks, is not understood. And I will say this right now. There are some very trusted colleagues in the broker world that don't get it, and they're dumber than rocks, okay? And we're having this conversation to try to get a lot of brokers on the same page, but right now there is a misunderstanding out there, isn't there, Nick? You know, Nick has a conversation with a listing broker on a $2 million property and explains his desire to be paid. And they said, yes, this property is, we are offering an X%. He says, great, no problem, I will send this form over. He sends this form over, thereby he doesn't need to put it in the purchase contract. He fills out the purchase contract, has his buyers sign it. Listing broker came back and said, my sellers don't want me to sign it. So he's got 0 on the purchase contract and an unsigned form, no guarantee of being paid on a $2 million property. That's a recipe for experience. He does, but that was, again, we had to then rewrite the purchase contract, which was an awkward conversation because now Nick is talking to a $2 million cash buyer, not about the house, not about their dreams, not about all this kind of stuff, but about his commission. And that was not a cool thing to do. So again, get this if you're getting it from the brokerage. When you get this, then write the offer. If you don't get this, now you know how to write the offer, right? And don't take what the other side says, get it signed, okay? Yeah.
So the ERS changes, our brokerage has an addendum that says the seller giving us permission to disclose or not. Does that go away with the changes to the ERS?
This form, actually, they have incorporated that in, and underneath the commission portion, it actually says with a check mark for initials, seller does not authorize the company to enter into a written compensation agreement with a buyer's brokerage. So they are telling you right there, don't. The sellers would like to look at everything in the offer. Please bring us an offer.
Which then, in that case, the buyer's agent likely would want to put it in the Rep C.
Yeah.
Purchase contract, unless they've already had the BAC and were strong up front with that, just letting the client know you're paying, there's a high potential that you could pay this BAC, or we have to negotiate it.
Yeah, that still limits the possibility of
Well, absolutely, and it forces back to our earlier conversation with Marita and Mike this morning about our needs to have conversations with other agents. You know, back in the day, again, I don't want to keep bringing this up, guys, but our marketing was a roll of quarters. You would pull into a phone booth and you would have a conversation with people. We didn't have emails, we didn't have all that kind of stuff, but right back then, we had real estate purchase contracts and agreements that probably averaged 1, maybe 2 addenda, because we were having conversations and we were working out the details. Now our average transaction probably is 6, 7 addenda, because communication is so much easier, we don't have to do it. Okay, and so my point is to Clayton, yeah, pick up the phone and have a conversation. If they're button-lipped, you know you need to put it in the purchase contract. If they're not button-lipped, say, great, I look forward to working with you. I'm going to send you over the compensation agreement. Can you get that signed for me? The signature lines are broker to broker, not buyer to seller. The buyer to seller lines are acknowledgement that you have entered into this agreement with the other broker, but I don't need to worry about getting paid, and I can put 0 in the purchase contract. Now it becomes a non-negotiable item between buyer and seller, unlike the refrigerator, okay? And so having
Sure
that
gets
conversation
messy.
makes it easier to make a binding contract that we don't have to counter back and forth with, okay?
But it sure gets messy when there's multiple offers.
It gets messy if there's multiple offers and you are negotiating with something that you don't want to be negotiated. I mean, there seems to be a race to the bottom on commissions right now, doesn't there? I'm seeing a lot of initial offers coming over on our listings asking for a 1 or 2 when we have a signed agreement with the sellers allowing us to say 3, but that listing agent never called us. Or they have a buyer agency agreement that only says 1 or 2 because they don't know what their value is. And I don't want you guys to be the buyer's agent that doesn't understand what your true value is. See value proposition buyer's agent conversation. But at the same time, it can all be eliminated by a phone call.
Well, to what Jeanette was saying, though, it can get messy even with the conversation, because I had the conversation with the seller agent. They gave me the 2.5 that the seller was offering. I wrote that into the brokerage agreement.
That they didn't sign.
And they didn't understand it. In return, I was delaying sending the REPC because the
Right.
REPC was 0.
Does that make sense? Nick did everything he was supposed to do. The other side was uninformed on what they were supposed to do. And the broker-to-broker agreement, which they had permission to execute, was executed, but instead of sending it back to Nick, they sent it to the seller, and the seller goes, gee, I really don't want you signing this. And then she refused to send it back to Nick after he already had the purchase contract rolling.
After she had told me to send over the commission agreement.
So we got it worked out and all that kind of stuff, but you see where it's at. If you have the conversation and you know which direction you need to do, the forms are fairly self-explanatory, but they are limiting if you check the wrong box. And so if your seller is saying don't share the BAC offering, you don't. And you contain the request for, are you cooperating in, sellers want to take a look at the entire agreement before they make any commitment. I mean, that's just easy.
Because the other brokerage didn't understand, or the other agent didn't understand the commission agreement, I lost out on the 3%.
Yeah.
A 3% commission.
I had a broker, we were off, I said, we have to already offer 3%. I sent over broker instructions, and I got a call from the telling me how that's form is not supposed to be used, the broker will not allow them to say, and how they'll write something.
And there are brokerages out there, guys, that are making it company policy to not enter into broker-to-broker compensation agreements. I personally don't understand how they can do it because they are predetermining what their seller's directive is going to be before they even have the conversation. Nonetheless, they are. Yeah, but for them to share what that agreement is the question, and they don't need to do that. There's no longer a BAC offering on the MLS. So.
If we're sharing.
Rather than make this into a 1-hour core class here. Patrick.
So make an offer in your rep sheet, for where you put in your 3%. They counter in an addendum, maybe made some changes to the price or agreement, and they say your brokerage compensation will be 2.5%. Everybody's happy, everybody signs that addendum. Is there any further documentation you need to clarify to set that in stone that you will be paid the 2.5%?
Your offer,
Is this on?
technically, no. The contract between buyer and seller is binding between buyer and seller. You still have an agreement with your buyer to be paid 3%. If you're going to waive that other 0.5%, if I were your buyer, I'd want that in writing. But other than that, the title company calls you up and says, what are you charging on this one? And you tell them, okay? Incidentally, there's no longer a conversation about gross and net. Everything is gross. Thank God. Because I'm talking to you guys about, it's $6 off. For sell by owner commission agreement, guys, I'm just gonna zip through a couple. For sell by owner commission agreement, if you're working with a for sale by owner, I don't care if you're being paid or if you're not being paid. The other portion of this agreement is required by law. It's the agency portion that you're required to have a conversation. This form is called for sale by owner commission agreement and agency disclosure. The agency disclosure part we need in our file, okay? Doesn't matter about whether or not you put it on a purchase contract and all that kind of stuff and disclosed. We need that portion to say that we actually did it. Exclusive buyer broker agreement and agency disclosure, they also have made this, again, specific to the property or the county or without putting anything, it's for the state of Utah. And the commissions, again, are the same way, but you should be having a conversation with your clients about A, your value, and B, what your fee is, and putting that in here. To put 0 on this one, which a lot of agents have in the past done, because it certainly is easier to get a 0 commitment from your buyers. But by putting 0 in here, you legally cannot take a commission on the other side, but you're still legally bound to provide all the services, right? You can't make more than what is on this form. So if your fee is 3%, you would tend to get from the other side. If you have the conversation with your buyers and say, you know, at the end of the day, if the seller won't pay it, you are on the hook for it, and they say, geez, we don't want to see any properties where we're going to be obligated to pay your fee, get that in writing as an addendum to this form. Because for you to show only those properties which pay your desired fee is a breach of fiduciary duty that I'd like to have you prove you didn't do. Okay? Any questions on any of that? And the last form on here, and Boyd's going, geez, why did I take this week? There are still some buyer agency forms that I see on transactions that are just now closing that were signed 14 years ago on the old forms. You need to include the update language that was brought out at Real Estate Lawsuit and Settlement version 50. This puts the legal approved language into those old existing contracts. There's one, there's one for the buyer side, one for the seller side, so any of your updates on old contracts need updating. And limited agency folks, again, I keep hearing people say limited agency is a bad thing. I personally would rather be in a transaction with myself than an incompetent agent on the other side. And so I'm not going to think it's a bad thing, and there are some companies out there that forbid limited agency. Explained as I do with limited agency. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I couldn't get you to sell your home for less than you would agree to. Okay, same way I can't get a buyer to pay more than they would. My role is truly going to be a communicator. And in this situation, I'm going to do battle for you. But if I happen to have also made those same promises to the other side, I want you to know at the very beginning, without any spin on it from Dave, I'm going to owe you the further duty of being neutral in the contract. It's not a limiting of my agency responsibilities, but I'm offering you the further duty of neutrality so you and the buyer can work through the details yourself. Okay, that's what limited agency, and generally speaking, if people think that you are somehow limiting what you are getting paid to do, they have a problem with it. But if you explain to them you have the same duties with the further duty of neutrality, I've never seen an issue. Okay? And so, once again, I have no problem with limited agency because I have no problem with what you guys do and how you do it. Okay? That's all I got.
It's hard following Dave, that's what I was going to say. Just one follow-up on that is when I was a youngster in real estate, I didn't have the confidence to ask for my full commission. And until I got really confident in presenting my commission, and when I got good at it, I would ask for 7% all the time. But before I had that confidence, it would almost always come up at the dining room table, how much is your commission? And because I wasn't confident, I would usually either end up in a back and forth and end up agreeing to less, or I wouldn't get the listing because I wasn't powerful enough to negotiate my value up front in front of the sellers who wanted to hire me to represent them. And once I committed to spending some time to understanding my own value and how to handle that objection, as soon as I became a ninja on that, it didn't come up anymore. Or if it did, it was just very simple. No, we're doing this at 7%. Or we're doing this at 6%. And I would say this is our opportunity with the buyer agency right now. Some of this, the change is hard for everybody, but the more confident you are presenting that you're going to give great value to the buyer agency, if we can just get that at 3%, the buyer agency, and explain to them there's a good chance you're going to have to pay this, but at least that takes all the question out of when we're negotiating. It's a level playing field with all offers. We know up front, I'm going to go negotiate the very best price for you without having commission be part of it. And I think that's sort of the direction we're heading. And Dave may have a little bit different data, but what I've seen on, I had a conversation with one of our other brokers about how this is actually happening. And we've seen the average commission on buyer sides go up over the last 60 days in most of the offices because we've spent so much time talking about it. Agents are doing a better job articulating the value proposition of that buyer agency. So instead of relying on the BAC that's posted, which you know that there's some compression on that, more of our agents have actually started to get a full 3% on that. So again, this is new and we're working through it, and I appreciate Dave certainly being a wizard on the contracts and helping us through it. And Nick, sorry you had to take one for the team for that learning opportunity. I know it's still a little fresh, but as we work through this, I think the other side of this, one of the great things is it could actually end up being a net gain for you guys as far as capturing a higher percentage. And I know you're all worth 3% at least. I got an offer this week on a piece of property we're selling where the guy asked for 4%, and I said, that brave son of a gun, I'm signing it just because he asked for it. I was so proud of him. I didn't even look at the offer, I just signed the darn thing. All right, Nick. Round of applause, way better than 3%. All right, so thank you, Dave. Upcoming training, Makai, who's doing this? Brindley, you? Okay.
Okay, so first up, we've still got our diaper drive going on for Sean and Hannah. This is where we drop them off. The drive will continue to go until the babies are born, which is in the second half of December for both of them, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes. Some beer.
Okay, so we still got about 3 weeks, so please donate some diapers. We want to help them out.
Anything else? I think that's all.
And then hopefully you've all seen, I've put about 1 million signs up, but the office will be closed on Thursday and Friday for the holiday.
But they can sign new buyer agency contracts all day if they want to.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
The staff will just not be in-house, that's all. Marita?
Yeah, so 2 weeks from tomorrow, we have Skate with Santa.
So we do still have tickets available for this. So if you have not reserved your tickets for this, you still can. So the Eventbrites around the office that Brindley has put up, you can still reserve tickets for this. Invite your SOI. What a great time of year to call and be grateful, thankful for your clients. And hey, you can either absorb the cost of that $10 ice skate, which includes the skate rental, or you can pass that along to them. So $10 for them to come and skate. At Mill Creek, we will have Santa there. We'll have cocoa and cookies. And we're working on having a Grinch out skating too. So that'll be fun. Yes.
Any nominations?
So when you get to the Commons, there is a big skating rink that's very obvious. You'll see it there. And we are to the north of that. There's like the Adventure Hut, I think is what it's called. And that's where the skate rentals are. And we're going to be on the second story of that. So we'll have the balcony and the inside room there. And that's where we'll have our cocoa and our Santa. But the Commons itself, there's lots of like benches and areas where you can hang out with your people. You can bring a tent if you want, or a table for yourself if you want to have your clients come and huddle with you, or you can just have them meet upstairs where the cocoa is. We can't have too many people on that balcony or we'll collapse it. So it'll just be, come up and get a cocoa and then come down and hang out. But, and we'll keep an eye on that. What's that? There is a heated room and the balcony has heaters on it as well. So that balcony's outdoors with heaters, and then the room is heated that we're in. So if you have signed up to come, we ask you to bring a plate of cookies. So the agents, everyone, bring a plate of cookies, please. You bring
Crumbles,
whatever.
delicious.
Right? Yes. Bring the head-shaped sized ones. No, whatever. Just bring cookies. We'd love you to just bring a plate of cookies. John. We are going to have a photographer. Yes, and taking pictures and things like that. Well, just snap a selfie with you and your social, for your socials. Yeah. Just the agents. Just the agents. Yeah. Don't ask your client. They don't have to bring a cookie. Bring cookies. That's okay. Just bring a plate. If you're an agent, bring a plate of cookies. Okay. It's going to be a good time. 2 weeks from tomorrow. So you got just time to be doing final calls, inviting people, and perfect time in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and a great touch point for your SOI. So thanks, guys.
Super. Thank you.
Okay, we've also got the Christmas party coming up. We are having it catered. However, I know you guys are all amazing cooks. So if you would like to show off how incredible you are and how talented you are, please scan the QR on the left to sign up for the potluck, and then the one on the right is just an RSVP. There's going to be a ugly sweater contest as well, and I am making ugly sweater trophies. They are so atrocious that they're cute. And then there's also going to be a gift exchange similar to the one we had last year. We want you to bring something that you would want, and then the price range is $25 to $50. What's the date on this? The 19th. Heather? Is it just agents or spouses? It's agents and their spouses. We ask that kids they hang out with their babysitters that night. Risa?
Okay, it says appetizers and drinks provided. So is it just appetizers that you're having catered?
Yeah, we're doing it a little earlier, and so it's not going to be a dinner. So we're going to cater appetizers, and there'll be,
So
if you
we
work
bring
hard, you can
something,
get
you want
lots
us
to
bring
eat.
appetizers too?
Yeah, don't bring the pot roast. And the idea is that it'll be early enough, we can have some fun and maybe extend it into a date night or get a group and go out and have dinner somewhere nearby or something. So, but there'll be enough for grazing. If you do power grazing, you'll be plenty full. Any other questions on the Christmas party?
And just to kind of set the tone with the gifts, if you guys weren't there last time, we usually lean more towards the joke fun gifts rather than the nice gifts. So just have that expectation. But it's fun. The gift exchange is fun. Both?
This is the irreverent section over here. We'll be shopping for those. Okay. Anything else on the Christmas party? Okay. How many spouses? Is this the question? Guys, this isn't that difficult. I mean, if you have a significant other, they're welcome. Okay, great. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Okay.
As far as ticketing goes, if you were bringing your spouse, go ahead and sign up for 2 tickets. See? Now I have to sign up again. And then finally, family reunion. It's coming up really soon. It's going to be in February. It's a few days of awesome value. As you can see, Jamie Kern-Lima is going to be one of the head presenters. She's super awesome, female CEO. However, the price is going to go up January 16th from $12.99 to $14.99. So grab your tickets now. Okay, and then as far as hotels and stuff like that goes, I think we have a few agents out there that have Airbnbs and things like that, so hit them up.
Yeah, and the family reunion, we will be having the awards banquet there again this year. And those of you who weren't there last year, it was a great time. The region rented out a room in the Hard Rock, I think, and it was really a nice event. So this is close enough to get to if you want to get down there, carpool with some people. It'll be a good event, and also the party that is the awards is down there, and it's a fun party that the region puts on. So great. Linktree, Good stuff. Okay. Okay, here's our November listings goals. So far, we're at 34. Our goal is 67. So at the dinner table this week, go ahead and ask for the listing, sign the contract. I know we're sneaking up on the end of this month. Listings are the lifeblood of our real estate business, guys. So we just really want to keep the focus on that. 34 is not enough for the office. It's not enough for all of you guys. So we just want to start training that we're focusing on listings. And it is probably a little bit easier to control how much commission you get paid on a listing. So take more listings. I think I'll skip this part. Dave kind of did a great job on the BAC. I had a few slides from the NAR, and do you know that for the last, I've been in this position OP for 21 years, and for 19 of them, I've been advocating for never going longer than an hour in team meeting. So it seems like for me to start on my slide presentation, it would be, I just don't feel comfortable doing that. There'd be some bad juju on that. So I do want to, I'll take some questions, but I want to give you a little update on the team leader thing. I have some really exciting news that we're getting our head around it. I've had some really fun conversations with some candidates. And I guess the funnest thing to report to you, we've talked about this at ALC and at staff level, but our good friend Josh Stern, who's been our partner in the office, as you know, he's a partner. He's volunteered his time to be our interim team leader for the next 90 days. So there's sort of a new sheriff in town.
Old for sure. I mean, I think about Boyd and I officing together more than 20 years ago, you know, and watching all of the incredible team leaders. The best I've ever seen really is in the back of the room, Lee Stern. And so this is my small way of contributing and following in her footsteps, and I've got a lot to learn on that. But I definitely want you to know that, you know, the ALC, Boyd and I have some really awesome plans that are in place to sort of take this place to the next level. I've got a lot of experience in growing teams and coaching and consulting some of the top teams. I make it a point as I'm in this role interim to make sure that we're all able to meet on a one-to-one basis. Many of you guys I already have. Many of you guys I have times that are set up, but I really want to get to know you, what your business goals are, and see what I can do to help you kind of push some of those forward. Additionally, Boyd and I are going to be focusing with the ALC on kind of going back to the basics of the MREA. So a lot of the trainings that we're going to be doing are going to be coming out of the MREA playbook. The ALC is going to be, you know, involved in that. I'm going to be highly involved in that, whether I'm even in a team leader role or not, and making sure that I'm providing value to you guys, but also, you know, creating a culture like we had, you know, 10 years ago, where it was really focused on models, productivity, profitability, and people were showing up every day because they wanted to, not because they have to. And it wasn't just on Tuesdays. It was on Mondays through, well, all right, Thursdays.
Thursday.
Mondays through Thursdays. Most agents feel like Fridays
even without
were a
tacos.
weekend. Yeah, but you know, where Boyd and Becky have been hanging out, you know, I'll probably take over that space a little bit if I'm meeting with folks. Otherwise, you guys know that I'm the kind of guy that just wants to hang out with you all, and I move around from cubicle to cubicle, and I want you to know that I'm approachable, and so if you have questions, you want to set up a time with me that we can go over sort of what.
Wait a minute. If you have to tell people you're approachable, are you approachable?
I know that's. That's one of those things I read in a book one time where it says, I'm not a liar, or I'm a liar. You know, if I say I'm a liar, and can you believe
you
it?
are approachable.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a real honor actually to have this opportunity. You know, I'm actually very excited about it. It's a big role to fill for sure. What Linda has done over the last, you know, 8, 9, 10 months has been remarkable for our culture. And I just didn't want to see, you know, any sort of decay of the hard work that she's done. And so this is just a, you know, sort of a next opportunity for me for the next little bit to participate with you guys on a whole different level. So I'm very excited about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Really excited about that. Like Josh said, I mean, that was, he reached out almost immediately and just said, man, we got so much momentum. I really don't want to see a gap. and it gives us the time and the comfort to really make sure we're putting in the time to get the perfect team leader fit and bring the best candidates forward. So thank you very much for that, Josh. It means a lot. We do have, I don't know, okay, Fed fund rates, all those things, not as exciting as Josh. So this is sticking with the nepotism theme. One of our favorite vendors for a long time is Ibex Home Warranty. So I want to give you some time. It seems like you came and brought us lunch, but more than that, Ibex has contributed to our office for several years. They've been a great vendor, and we're glad to have you here. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Hello. Oh, thank you. I know. Yes, so most of you probably know Chad. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Kaya. I grew up in Layton, and then I moved up to Logan. I went to Utah State for 4 years, worked for Ibex, and then I just recently moved to Midvale. So now I'm super close to you guys. I'm one of your new reps, so I'm willing to help you out with whatever you need, any questions you have. I brought some Maverick gift cards today for those of you that know some fun facts about Ibex. So my dad was a real estate agent for 18 years, and he just got frustrated with recommending his clients to a home warranty company and their claims being denied or having to choose a certain plan, and they didn't know what was going to break in their house or what they would need fixed. So we have one plan that's super simple. We cover everything 100%, and who knows how much our home warranty is. 700. A good student.
And she's Adam's daughter.
Yes, I am Adam's daughter. Yes. Okay, and then next question is, who knows what's so special about our contractors? In the back. No, contractors.
They're dedicated to Ibex.
Yes, close enough, yes. They work for us and us only. This gives us a huge competitive advantage because we're able to get our contractors out 60% of the time the same day to your clients, 40% of the time the next day. So we're able to be super quick and just get them taken care of. The next thing is our gurus are awesome. They answer the phone, and I want to know who knows how fast they are at answering. 15. Who said 15? There you go. Yes.
They set a new standard, though. The expectation is 5 over here.
5. I know. We need to work on that. Yeah, but 15 seconds on average. So they're super fast, and they're really nice and helpful, and they just want to do the best they can for you guys. And then the next question I have is, who is our mascot? What's his name? Who said Hooper first?
Can you double dip on the Maverick?
Yeah, you can.
All right.
Awesome. And then the last question I have for you guys is, the next time you are recommending a home warranty, who's it going to be with? Good job. I saw you raise your hand. Good job. Yes. So I just want to say thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited to get to know you all. I'm leaving my business cards out by the lunch and some of our brochure cards if you need them for clients or.
What's for lunch today?
It's Olive Garden.
Wow.
So you can grab some bread,
Fancy.
salad. Yes, everything you need is out there. So enjoy, and thank you again.
Thank you. We have exactly 3 minutes for wants and needs. Also, just quickly, I don't know if we've officially announced Becky. Stand up and wave hi. Most everyone knows Becky. Becky works with me. She's an executive assistant. She's been doing a great job, and primarily her role is to work with the staff and stuff, and she'll be more visible here. So if you see her, she can help. She's another extension of the staff and myself. So if there's something you need and you see her in the office, that's what she's here. So wants and needs? Allegedly, yes, she is approachable. Any wants and needs? Okay, well, thank you guys for being patient with me in this role for a minute. Have a great Thanksgiving and go enjoy the lunch. And thanks, Dave, for all the broker, the form stuff. Yeah, Bobby. Glad to have you here.